Come on in the room, my good people. Come on in the room. I am so glad to be on this morning. We are going to have a great conversation today. The very next amendment that is about to come out on the XRP ledger could be a barrier that is falling down, paving the way for banks to jump on board using the XRP ledger. And there are no laws against this. The banks can move prior to the Clarity Act if they choose, and we're going to go over it, people. This is a great amendment. This amendment, I believe, could be the final key to unlock institutional adoption of the XRP ledger. And we got my boy, Nathaniel Rosaball, back again. What's happening? What's up, my guy? Glad you on board. What's happening? You talking about my beard? Yeah, I guess I do look younger without my beard. I switch it up every now and then. What's good, VG? M007, Rome 7, Rome, what's going on? Glad y'all in the place. Y'all rock with me for a little while. I'm going to do some education today, people. We're going to do some reading today. I have a great article. I've done some great research, and I'm going to just help you and share my research with you. And we're going to dig deep into an amendment that is an upgrade, rather, that is coming to the XRP ledger this year. First quarter is when they're trying to get this out. And they're going to have additional updates to this amendment by the second quarter. Ladies and gentlemen, it's looking good. This could open up some adoption, some serious bank adoption. Right now, we don't have that much serious bank adoption on the XRP ledger right now. And there's one major reason outside of the whole clarity stuff. Okay. XRP has already achieved clarity by the courts. XRP already got that clarity. And we know what certain things that are going to be put in the legislation drafts once it's completed, right? But we have legislation for stablecoins, and we have XRP clarity in the courts. Ripple has payment licenses all over the place, right? So there are some things that banks can legally do that are not against the law. But there's one barrier that is keeping banks from offloading all of their stuff onto a public ledger. And that's privacy. Privacy, people. Privacy. Banks need privacy. Public distributed ledger technology innovations like XRP Ledger, they are about transparency. Okay? When it comes to blockchain and distributed ledger technology, it's about transparency. Banks need privacy. So how do we, if we're going to bridge TradFi or traditional finance with DeFi, decentralized finance, what we're trying to do, we need to be able to get all of the efficiencies of removing the friction, lowering the cost of payments, speeding up payments, while at the same time maintaining the privacy that the banks need, disclosures that the banks need. The banks can't just put all their stuff out there. They would lose competitive advantage. If you could just look at everything everybody was doing, then you would see, oh, they're about to make this investment. Let me do this, let me do that, right? There's a lot of privacy that banks need. And this amendment that is about to come to the XRP ledger called Zero Knowledge Proofs. Zero Knowledge Proofs, or Zero Knowledge Privacy. This is an amendment that is coming to the XRP ledger that will enable the privacy requirements that banks have. The privacy requirements. Guess what? When it comes to using blockchain technology right now, as of today, the Ethereum blockchain has way more usage than XRP ledger right now. That's just the fact right now, as of today. Okay? Ethereum Now, as you know, RLUSD is minted, not if maybe you didn't know, but it's minted on both the XRP ledger and Ethereum. But did you know that 70% of the RLUSD currently minted is on Ethereum, not XRPL? Did you know that? Now, that's not FUD. And I'm going to help you understand why it's not FUD. It's just the truth. All right. 70% of the current RLUSD volume is on Ethereum. So when that XRP, that RLUSD that's being used right now by the institutions is mostly affecting Ethereum use case. Ethereum is being burned for that transaction, not XRP. It's only a smaller fraction, about 20 something percent affecting XRP today. But that's because Ethereum has layer 2 capabilities and extensions and side chains that have allowed it to have zero knowledge proof capability. Ethereum doesn't have it natively on its layer 1 main chain or mainnet, but it does have attachments via layer 2 technologies and innovations that allow Ethereum to operate with those zero knowledge proofs. Now, that's going to ramp up some cost. Yeah, it is, because you're using the layer 2. And that's going to add a little friction. Yeah, because you're sourcing to a layer 2. However, the job still gets done, right? The job still gets done. So banks are using that right now more today. Well, these zero knowledge proofs are now coming not to the XRP ledger via some layer 2 application. No. This technology is going to be native on the mainnet that's on the layer 1, which means no higher fees, which means more scalability, which means still removing that friction, which means hundreds to thousands times cheaper than Ethereum. I'm not making that up. 100 to 1,000 times cheaper than Ethereum. Okay. So once these zero knowledge proofs become live on the XRP ledger, now banks will have the privacy that they need. And at this point, why would they be using Ethereum, paying all that money for Ethereum when they can save the money on XRP ledger and get something that's more efficient? Right? So now we're going to get into what are zero knowledge proofs. We're going to get into the details. I'm going to read this article for you so that you can understand zero knowledge proofs and understand how it's going to unlock utility for XRP. All right, let's get into it. The XRP ledger, XRPL, is poised to redefine institutional grade blockchain infrastructure with its upcoming zero knowledge privacy upgrade, a development that could catalyze widespread adoption among banks, asset managers, and decentralized finance platforms. As blockchain technology matures, privacy and compliance have emerged as critical barriers for institutions seeking to leverage distributed ledger systems. Ripple's strategic pilot toward privacy-preserving innovations, rooted in zero-knowledge proofs, addresses these pain points directly, offering a blueprint for scalable, confidential, and regulatory-compliant transactions. Institutional-grade privacy, a game changer for cross-border and tokenized finance. According to a report by Ripple, according to a report, Ripple is set to deploy a zero-knowledge privacy layer on the XRP ledger. Yeah, that is Ripple. I'm sorry. Ripple is set to deploy a zero-knowledge privacy layer on the XRP ledger, enabling institutions to settle transactions while concealing sensitive details such as amounts, account balances, and commercial terms. This is achieved through cryptographic proofs that validate transaction legitimacy without exposing underlying data. For institutions, this represents a paradigm shift. Cross-border payments, tokenized asset transfers, and collateralized lending can now occur with the same confidentiality as traditional banking systems while retaining the speed, 3 to 5 second settlement, and cost efficiency of a public ledger. That's huge, people. That's huge. If we're talking about use case, if we're talking about XRP and its demand from these big banks and big institutions, this is going to unlock it, because they were never going to use it full scale outside of just experimenting here and there without the privacy. There's no way they're just going to put their entire business out there like that with all these trillions of dollars in transactions for anybody like their competitors to see exactly what they're doing and how they're flowing their money. That is total risk. Okay, that is a lot of risk. No bank is going to put themselves in that type of risk. So the zero knowledge proofs get rid of the risk, but they keep the efficiency, they keep the speed, they keep the low cost. You explain to me what's going to happen to that ROUSD volume. It's going to come run into the XRP ledger. Okay. Let's continue reading. The integration of zero knowledge proofs into the XRP ledger's core protocol is particularly significant for real world asset tokenization. As stated by Ripple engineers, confidential multi-purpose tokens, MPTs, will launch in 2026, allowing institutions to tokenize real-world assets like real estate or commodities with privacy-preserving features. This innovation aligns with growing demand for tokenized real-world assets, which require robust confidentiality to protect proprietary investment strategies and borrower identities. By embedding privacy at the protocol level, XRPL avoids the need for off-chain solutions or intermediaries, reducing friction for institutional onboarding. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's very clear. Once zero knowledge proofs are a thing on the XRP ledger, banks are going to feel much more comfortable with using the XRP ledger for things like tokenizing real world value. Right now, the most meaningful asset right now in the United States is RLUSD, and that value is mostly minted on Ethereum. Why? Because Ethereum has zero knowledge proofs, not on the mainnet, on the level 2. This technology is coming to XRP ledger's native level 1 or layer 1. Layer 1 is what I meant to say, not level. If I say level 2, I'm trying to say layer 2. I don't know why I keep doing that. All right, so layer 1 is where this integration is taking place. So tokenizing assets, it's not illegal. We have stablecoin regulation. We have the Genius Act there. The Genius Act alone is enough legislation for the use case of real world assets, stablecoins, tokenizing value. We already have legislation for that. So there's nothing stopping banks for jumping on board with that portion for use case for XRP. Now, there are other portions that we anticipate are going to bring more uses for XRP, which was going to require the market structure bill, the Clarity Act. But for now, we can get some usage with the Genius Act as long as this ledger is totally conducive for what the banks are going to need. And that number one need, outside of liquidity, outside of speed, outside of efficiency, that's a great problem to solve, but they won't do it at the risk of bringing down their business. They need privacy. They need privacy. And this is bringing the privacy. Seamless integration with existing infrastructure. A key differentiator for XRPL's privacy upgrade is its compatibility with existing infrastructure. Ripple's approach ensures that privacy-enhanced transactions settle directly on the main network, bypassing bridges or sidechains that could introduce latency or security risks, like Ethereum, like what Ethereum is doing. Oh God, when you research, man, you just understand, you have a different understanding. This design is critical for institutions already testing XRP via Ripple's on-demand liquidity corridors and RLUSD stablecoin flows. For example, banks using ODL to facilitate cross-border payments can now transition to zero-knowledge settlements without overhauling their operational workflows. Okay, so not only can they tokenize assets, but they can also use ODL better now because of what they can do with zero-knowledge proofs. Wow. Is ODL prohibited? No, it's not. We don't need the market structure bill for banks to compliantly and legally participate or use ODL. Now, banks may choose to not touch it and wait for that full markets legislation. That would be their choice, but there's nothing legally keeping them from doing it. The early adopters that get it are going to move once the privacy is in place. That's what I'm betting on. And that gives us a path for 2026. That gives us a path. That gives us a path for this year. I've been saying for the last month or so, I don't think XRP is going to moon until the end of 2027. What I'm saying now is anything is possible. We just got to see how much usage ramps up. Anything is possible. Listen, people, I don't know what's going to happen with the price. What I know is there's nothing legal. There's nothing illegal. There are no laws, rather, that would keep banks from using ODL or keep banks from using the XRP ledger to tokenize assets. It's already happening. Okay. Now, there are other things that they are restricted from doing that they can't do right now, and we're going to get into that later. But for right now, ODL and tokenizing assets, that's enough to get started. That's enough to get started. That's enough to ramp up some utility that could affect the price. And I'm going to show you exactly why. Let's continue reading, though. Let's continue reading. Watch this. Moreover, the privacy layer supports programmable compliance features. Institutions can cryptographically prove adherence to anti-money laundering or know your customer KYC regulations without disclosing transaction specifics to competitors. This dual layer approach, privacy for commercial interests, transparency for regulators, addresses a long-standing challenge in blockchain adoption, particularly in jurisdictions with stringent compliance frameworks like the United States. DeFi expansion and XRP value capture. Beyond institutional use cases, XRPL's upgrades are fueling a broader shift toward decentralized finance. As highlighted in Ripple's Insights, the ledger will introduce on-chain lending protocols, enabling XRP holders to earn interest by loaning tokens directly to counterparties without intermediaries. These developments position XRP as a utility token, not only for cross-border payments, but also for DeFi primitives, expanding its value capture beyond its current use cases. The launch of confidential MPTs in 2026 further amplifies XRP's role in tokenized finance. By enabling privacy-preserving collateralization, MPTs could attract institutional capital to DeFi programs where liquidity constraints and transparency risks have historically limited participation. This, in turn, may drive increased demand for XRP as a settlement asset and staking mechanism, reinforcing its network effects. Oh my God, I'm gonna let me continue this. Ripple's focus on institutional grade privacy aligns with broader trends in blockchain finance, as noted by the XRP ledger. As noted by the XRP ledger, aims to become the first choice for institutions seeking innovation and trust. A positioning bolstered by its unique combination of speed, scalability, and now privacy. Competitors in the blockchain space, such as Ethereum, have prioritized throughput and smart contract capabilities, but lag in native privacy solutions. Right there. Ethereum lags in native privacy solutions. They have privacy solutions on the layer 2, as I said, but integrating those layer 2 adds more friction, adds more cost. Okay. From an investment perspective, the upgrade's success hinges on adoption rates among banks and asset managers. Early adopters, such as those already leveraging XRP for cross-border corridors, are likely to migrate to the privacy layer first, creating a flywheel effect as network usage grows. What is this flywheel effect? Well, you see some banks are already using ODL. Some banks are already, tinkering with tokenizing assets, but they're not deploying their full capital potential into these things yet. Once the banks who have already early adopted XRP, but just on a small scale, once the capability of these zero knowledge proofs, giving them the privacy that they need, is live, what are they going to do? They're going to amp up their volume. Pump up the volume. Remember that song in the 80s? Pump up the volume. Right? That's what's going to happen, people, with the network, with the early adopters. So what's going to happen? The early adopters are going to experience the network effects of a more efficient system, and they're going to profit off of that. That's going to show positively in their balance sheets, on their balance sheets. Okay? That's going to show positively. And then what's going to happen? Their competitors are going to see how they're growing and what they're able to do, and they're going to have no choice but to keep up and run to the XRP ledger to do the same. That's the flywheel effect. These people are succeeding, and then the people behind them are going to have to try to catch up, and everybody's going to come run into the XRP ledger. Everybody's going to be running to the ledger. I'm going to read the conclusion of this article. XRP Ledger's zero knowledge privacy upgrade represents a pivotal evolution in blockchain infrastructure, addressing institutional demands for confidentiality, compliance, and scalability. By embedding privacy into its core protocol, Ripple is not only future-proofing the XRP ledger, but also creating a foundation for tokenized finance and DeFi to thrive in a regulated environment. For investors, this upgrade underscores XRP's potential to transition from a niche payment token to a cornerstone of institutional blockchain ecosystems, a shift that could redefine its value proposition in the years ahead. And that's what I want to touch on so heavily right now. If you haven't listened to anything I said all day, hear this. Most of the world does not understand this about XRP. Most of the world. XRP is not just a payment token. It's a liquidity token. There's a difference between a payment token and a liquidity token, people. And Ripple, not Ripple. Ripple. I'm thinking of Mickle. Y'all follow, I'm sure most of you who are on here follow Mickle Markets. He just put out a video. I think he did a great job explaining the difference between XRP being a payment token and a liquidity token that is going to bring demand to this asset. Okay. Listen, I want to offer some, I'm probably going to do it on my next video. I'm going to do it on my next video because what he touched on was something that was very important. And it ties into what I've been talking about on this channel for over the last week or two. And I haven't heard anybody make the connections I've been making. And I was watching Mickle to see how he was going to tie it in. And he did a great job, but he did not tie in one thing that I've been talking about on my channel that I was hoping I was going to hear him say. And if you've been watching my channel, you know what that is. But let me back up a little bit. I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit what Mickle was talking about. And then I'm still going to do a video on this later. So y'all, if you're live with me right now, you're getting a sneak peek. You're getting a sneak peek. Ripple's, why I keep thinking of Ripple and I'm trying to say Mickle. Golly. Mickle started his video off stating that he received a comment. And this comment was basically saying that XRP doesn't have to be a high price. Why? Because the amount of times that XRP can be turned over, we're talking about the velocity, the amount of times that XRP can be reused is going to be, at levels where XRP can be reused. You don't need that much liquidity. And that's true. That's all I've been talking about on my channel. But there's just more information you got to know with that truth. Ripple did a good job. He turned that conversation in the difference between a payment token and liquidity token. And he did a great job with that. But what I'm going to add to that is this is the piece that I don't think anybody is really getting. And if you've heard somebody talk about this, put it in the comments, please put it in the comments. I want to hear another YouTuber make this connection other than me. Has another YouTuber made this connection? What is the connection? Listen, even given reasonable velocity, even if you turn the same XRP over 50 times in one day, that's on a high end reasonable velocity. Okay. The point is this. It's not the circulating supply that has to be liquid enough to fund ODL. It's the market supply that must be liquid enough for ODL. The circulating supply includes the market supply, right? The circulating supply is simply all the XRP that's not in escrow. That's the circulating supply, all right? The circulating supply is all the XRP that's locked up, all the XRP in your wallet, my wallet, institutional wallets, in wallets all over the place, and XRP in the market. The XRP, when I say market XRP, I'm talking about the XRP that's available, the floating XRP that anybody can go pick up right now if they want to. That's a whole nother supply, and that's a much more scarce supply. Now, here's the facts. Right now, ODL volume is doing 40 billion per day. Excuse me, million, not billion. ODL is only doing 40 million a day right now. That's not a lot. And right now there's 1.6 billion tokens available on the market. Now, understanding that the ODL gets its liquidity from the market XRP, not XRP in my wallet. The XRP in my wallet is not providing liquidity for ODL. The XRP in your wallet and wallets all over the world that are locked up, that's not useful for ODL. ODL gets its liquidity from the available market XRP. And right now, that's about 1.6 billion tokens. Given reasonable velocity of 50 times a day, that's a lot. That's more than enough liquidity right now to handle 40 million a day. For 40 million a day, all we need is XRP given reasonable velocity. All we need is XRP to be about 2.5 cents per token right now. That's sufficient to handle the amount of on-demand liquidity demand we have today. All we need is 2.5 cents. It doesn't have to be a high price to manage a small amount of on-demand liquidity. But XRP was not designed to handle a small amount of on-demand liquidity. And on the dual side of that, XRP was not designed to just not have institutional demand. You see, people, the amount of XRP in the market is going to disappear because of the demand of XRP. So all the things Mikkel talked about as far as the liquidity portion of XRP, that's going to what? Pull demand on XRP. That demand, bringing XRP off the market, is going to be less tokens that have to meet the same amount of liquidity for ODL. And when ODL grows and gets to volumes of trillions per day, while the liquid demand of XRP is pulling this 1 billion XRP left on the market down to 500 million, pulling that down to 1 million eventually, and pulling that down to one. We've all been saying it, right? I've heard every major YouTuber, a lot of them, say XRP is going to be scarce. XRP is going to be scarce. Scarce where? In the market. No one's really touching on what the implications of that is, though, on the price. So the people that want to use velocity as a reason XRP can't go anywhere, they don't understand the scarcity of XRP, of what will happen once the demand really hits. We're going to enter a world where there is less than 1 million XRP on exchanges altogether worldwide. We're going to hit a world where there is less than 100,000 tokens left on exchanges. And that type of scarcity of in the market available floating XRP to the circulating supply, and ODL volumes ramping up, do the math. Do the math. Ask Grok, given reasonable velocity, how much would XRP have to be worth if there was only 100,000 tokens left on the market? Yet, wow, we're still have to do, let's say something moderate, 5 trillion per day on the XRP ledger. Somebody ask Grok that, and you tell me what it says. I haven't heard anybody make that connection. I have not heard one YouTuber make that connection. And if you've heard somebody, put it in the comments, because I want to see the video. I would love to engage with this conversation. I don't think there's enough people out there that really understand this. Am I tripping? I'm going to jump in the comments. Wendy said, please explain liquidity for the sake of finance. Thank you, sir. Sure, Wendy. Sure, Wendy. I'll give you an example. Let's say you own a business, right? Let's say you're selling t-shirts, and your t-shirts are bringing in about $100,000 in sales, but you have to pay your employees, right? So that $100,000 is not liquidity because you have some debt associated with that. You have some liability associated with that. So you have some money that has to go out, right? What is liquidity? Is available free flowing capital that you can use right now. It's not liable for anything. It's not counting against something else. It's free flowing money that you can use right now. So for example, let's say you owned a house and you were renting that house to someone, and you have to pay for the house though, right? Let's say you have a mortgage that you're paying on the house, but you're renting that house out. And let's say you pay $1,000 for the mortgage, but the person that's renting from you pays you $1,500. Well, when they pay you the $1,500, that's not $1,500 in liquidity. Why? Because you still got to pay $1,000 for the mortgage to keep the house. You're liquid $500. And once the mortgage is paid off, now you're going to be liquid $1,500 a month, because now that's free profit. Okay. So the financial system is built on liquidity. And all these debts that are floating around can only be funded by some sort of liquidity at some point. All right. So liquidity is free capital that can be used on an instant right now. And that is what the idea behind the XRP ledger is about. Right now capital at any time, anywhere. Doesn't matter what asset you hold. I can get right now capital. I can go from rupees to Chinese yen right now, instantaneously. Instant liquidity. Hope that answers your question. Jake Claver does. I've heard Jake Claver talk about the scarcity of XRP. I've never heard Jake Claver make the connection that high ODL volume, scarce XRP, like something like 100,000 or less, and what the price would have to be for that. I have not heard that. And if you've heard him say that, please put the video in this comment, because I want to look at it. I haven't seen it. I want to see it. If you've seen somebody talk about that, please put it in the comments. I would love to see it. Tag the share the video in the comments, please. Henry said, and there is only one with the patent for on-demand liquidity and also has legal clarity. Oh, I didn't realize. I didn't even know that they put a patent on that. That's awesome. You're welcome, Wendy. Yeah, I've heard the domino theory. Yeah, I've heard him talk about the domino theory. But I don't think I've heard it the way I've been saying it. I don't think I've heard. So let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. If you do the math on this, XRP is going to be extremely valuable. Without saying what the numbers are, because I like people to do their own research and find out those numbers for themselves. But XRP is going to be extremely valuable. Value that no one on earth thinks would be reasonable initially. No one. Yeah. Oh, do I? Thanks. I sure do. Did I get it? Appreciate you, extra fraud. They've been sitting there with hopefully that code wasn't bothering anybody. Make sure. Oh, is there some more? There we go. Oh my gosh. Fred, how many XRP are enough? Listen, man, you have to make up your own mind on that, because I don't know your needs. I don't know your lifestyle. What's enough for one person doesn't mean that's enough for someone else. How can I tell you what's enough for you when I don't know you? I don't know your lifestyle. I don't know what you want in life. I don't know what you need in life. So why would you even want me to tell you that, right? What I can do is show you how to figure out what's enough. But stop asking YouTubers to tell you that. What you need to do, I'm going to teach you how to figure that out for yourself. That's what I'm going to do. Okay? Because that answer to that question is going to be different from person to person to person. Okay? So here's how you figure it out yourself. The first thing you have to do is make up your mind on what price you think XRP is going to go to. That's what you have to make up your mind on. That's what you have to have some type of conviction on, because that is going to determine when you sell it or if you sell it at all. The longer you hold XRP, the more likely it's going to get higher and you'll have more, right? So that's another question you have to ask yourself. How long are you willing to hold it? So saying how much is enough, one person may be willing to wait only 2 to 3 years, but another person may only be willing to wait, they may be willing to wait 10 years. So is the answer going to be the same for those two people? No. I don't know how long you're willing to wait to hold it. If you take a person who is willing to hold XRP forever and not sell it, which is what I think you should do, that's what I think, then I believe any amount of XRP is enough if you're willing to hold it long enough. And I think by 2030, what's that, 4 years from now, I think XRP could possibly be at valuations that are totally mind-boggling, to where if all you had was one XRP, you're going to be good. So you're asking me how much is enough? I think one is enough. I think one is enough if you're willing to hold it till 2030 or maybe 2035. Now, if you don't want to wait till 2030, don't want to wait till 2035, and you're saying, man, look, I need money by 2027. I need money by 2027 because I just need it faster. Well, in my opinion, I think XRP may get to $100 in 2027. But that don't mean you think that, right? You got to make up your own mind of what you think XRP is going to go to. That's what I think. But if you think XRP is only going to $50 by 2027, then your math is going to be different. Take whatever price you think XRP is going to, right? And divide that into the amount of money you want to have. And whatever you come up with, that's the amount of tokens you need. Multiply those tokens times the current price, and that's going to give you the amount of money you need to invest. And if that amount of money is more than what you currently have, then it's a goal for you. What you do is you every time you get paid, you put in a little bit. You put in a little bit money that you can throw away. Money that you are if you have a job, if you have a career, if you work, there is most likely money every month that you throw away on stuff you really didn't need to buy. Snacks at the gas station. If you smoke cigarettes, you know what I'm saying? If you drink alcohol, you know what I'm saying? If you like to be entertained, concerts, football games, all the stuff we do to entertain ourselves, going out to eat when you got food at home. You know what I'm saying? We all spend money, a significant portion or percentage of our income, on stuff we don't really have to buy. Take a percentage of that, however much you're comfortable with, and put that towards XRP every month. And it may seem boring to do that. It's more fun to put in $5,000. I just put $5,000 on XRP today. Yeah, I can beat my chest, feel good about that. Ooh, I just put $1,000 on XRP. Ooh, that felt good. Sometimes you got to put $10 on XRP. Sometimes you just got to put $20 on XRP. Because if you keep doing that over time, you're going to have thousands of dollars that you put on. And haven't you wasted thousands of dollars over the years on stuff you didn't really need to buy? But it didn't feel like you was putting $1,000 every time you went to the gas station, did it? No. The money adds up if you responsibly just put in money that you can afford to lose here and there over time. You're going to have a great bag. We still have some time left. And at the end of the day, if all you were able to accumulate was 50 XRP, if that's all you were able to do, I'm telling you, there's going to be some time you're going to be very happy about that 50 XRP. Imagine the people who have 50 Bitcoin right now. Wouldn't you like to have 50 Bitcoin right now? Oh, when you say 50 XRP, that don't seem like a lot. That don't seem like nothing. But 50 Bitcoin, whatever price Bitcoin is, XRP is going to surpass that. But right now it's 1.6 billion coins on the market. Now that's scarce compared to the total supply, but it's still a lot of coins and way more than what we need for the current on-demand liquidity volumes. So the price is actually a lot higher than what it should be right now, which still speaks to the demand that we have today in XRP. Think about that. The on-demand liquidity numbers say XRP should only be 2.5 cents, or only needs to be 2.5 cents per coin right now. We're at $2 or $1.90, whatever, right? That's because of the demand XRP currently has. The demand is only going to ramp up once adoption hits, people, and adoption's coming. Adoption is coming. And I think it's reasonable for everything to be done with legislation this year. And I'm hoping that we get some good adoption before legislation. It could be another option is banks start FOMOing in prior to legislation, doing all the things that they legally can do because they see how much this thing works. And now they're forced to get legislation done because now XRP is valued so high and the banks are panicking because guess what? Right now, our legislative framework, I don't know if people know this, our current legislative framework in the United States, banks are not allowed to participate in high volumes for risk on assets like volatile assets like XRP for the investment purposes or yield bearing instrument purposes. They're not allowed to do it. They can't do it. Not right now, not today, not right now. We're going to need some deeper legislation to get banks to be able to do that. If banks don't regulate that, let's say we don't get the Clarity Act anytime soon. We hit midterms, they don't have it done yet, and then all these Democrats come in, fill the House up, and then they just fight against this because they hate Trump, and it doesn't get done during Trump's term. That would put us at 2028, 2029 until the Clarity Act gets passed. XRP can move before then based on the current legal frameworks, allowing ODL and tokenization. Ladies and gentlemen, that alone can bring scarcity to XRP. Why? Here we go. Here we go. I've already mentioned it before on my channel. But when you're talking about the tokenization of real world assets, issuers must create base accounts and trust lines. The base accounts, as of right now, cost 1 XRP, and each trust line costs 1/5 of an XRP. And when you consider that when we get into global adoption of tokenizing assets, there are going to be millions of base accounts, and there are going to be billions of trust lines. This is all XRP that has to come off the market. This is how XRP reaches scarcity with the tokenization of assets. All these base and trust lines is going to pull so much XRP off the market, which is going to be less XRP available for on-demand liquidity. So it's going to depend. How high will the on-demand liquidity volume be versus how much XRP is left in the market? That's the telltale for the extreme price, people. That's the telltale. ODL volume ramping up, scarcity in the market supply. That's it. That's it. You can simplify it to that alone. That factor is going to cause XRP to do banana stuff when the numbers get right. They're not right today. Only 40 million a day ODL, 100. I hate doing live sometimes. A lot of my stutters I would have edited out. But that 1.6 billion available, come on, man. The numbers are what they are. We just got to wait. We just got to wait. I currently have 0.3654 XRP in my wallet. They have stopped mining XRP. Have they stopped mining XRP, or it's still been mined? Good question. XRP was pre-mined. All 100 billion coins were pre-mined. And that number has been decreasing since then because of the burn rate. So as of today, about 14 million XRP has been burned. So there will never, as of today, we're looking at about what? 99,986,000,000 XRP tokens, and there will never be more than that. Okay. Burnt because of the burn rate. I'm on auto purchase every week. I don't think about it. That's what's up. JG Fontes, that's a great strategy. Auto purchase, you don't have to think about it. You just have XRP growing in your account, and I trust it's something that you can reasonably afford. You're going to be very glad that you did that. The greatest thing to have XRP for is for the yield, people. That's why you want to hold XRP, because once we get to this global adoption phase where the world sees how valuable XRP is, the yielding opportunities, the passive income that you're going to make from holding XRP is going to give you so much freedom and so many options. We don't know exactly what the yields are going to be, but I imagine that we'll get some attractive yield. Imagine an 8% yield on hundreds of millions of dollars of capital that you hold in XRP, right? That's 80. What is that for 100 million? And then 8% of that would be 8 million. That's crazy. Imagine making 8 million a year passively. But guess what? There's a kicker. That 8 million is going to continue to grow. Why? Because these protocols, whatever interest you're not spending, it's going to compound it and reinvest it for you, right? In addition to that, the underlying asset, XRP itself, is going to continue to grow and appreciate in value. So if you have 100 million in value, earning 8%, you're making 8 million. But that 100 million in value, as the price of the coin appreciates, is one day going to turn into 200 million in value. Now that 8% may still be 8%, but 8% on 200 million is 16 million, not 8 million. We've doubled our passive income for doing what? Holding it. That's the dream, people. That's the end goal. Not selling it. Not selling it. Now, if you're on here and you've had to sell it because of dire circumstances, I get it. That's understandable. That's understandable. That life happens. I've had to sell XRP in the past and was like, okay, oh Lord, I got to put this back. You know what I mean? Whatever amount of XRP you have, you'll be happy about it, is all I'm saying. Whatever XRP you've had to spend because of life stuff, it's only $1.90 right now. Did you put $10 in today? Did you put $10 of XRP in today? All right. That's all you got to do every now and then. That's the least you can do. And I'm telling you, you're going to be ecstatic about that decision in the future. This is not financial advice, people. But if XRP ever got to something stupid like $1 million per coin, and you only have 50 of them, can you imagine what's going to happen once XRP gets to, triples from there and goes up 10 times from there? And XRP is always going to go up as time passes. Mark my words. Let's look at decades. Every 10-year period, XRP will always be significantly more valuable than where it was 10 years in the past. Watch. In 2013, how much was XRP then compared to where it was in 2023? Way higher. Now compare where it was in 2023, about 50 cents, compared to where it's going to be in 2033. Where do you think it's going to be then? Way higher. And in 2043, it's going to be stupid. But hopefully we can be wealthy in like a year. Hopefully we can be wealthy this year if the right macro events happen. These things are not in our control, unfortunately, right? So we just got to wait. But we know it's going to happen. When you're asking about Binance, what do you mean? What about Binance? That's a very general thing there. What do you mean? Do we know about Binance? Be a little bit more specific. Rich forever. That's what I'm talking about. Wendy says it's going to be the global reserve currency. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Abner says never going to happen. What's never going to happen? What you talking about? XRP, Sologenic, and Corium are the holy trinity. You think so, huh? All right. Nope, I'm in Texas. I'm in Texas. All right, people. I hope you guys have enjoyed the content today. Look forward to my next video. I'm going to do an official reaction to one of the recent videos that Mikkel put out. I think it was an excellent video, but I think it's so important to add my take. I really do. I think my take is an excellent take, and I just want to add that to his wonderful work as well. So y'all look forward to that. That will be my next video. What's today? Today is Wednesday. So we'll have a private Discord group tonight at 7 p.m. Listen, if you want to rock with a wonderful community of XRP people who know their stuff, we have amazing conversations on DeFi, XRP, and many other tokens that are going to have utility people. I'm telling you, and it's not just me in the group. There are other people in the group who are very knowledgeable, and they just offer wonderful gems for us when we meet. And so I will put a video up later on today, and just look in the y'all know how to find my links. They're always in the descriptions of my video. So that's for anybody who wants to come out to the private Discord group meeting tonight. That will be at 8:30 Central Standard Time. All right, my good people. Of course, if you're looking for smart contracts, all that good stuff, you can find any of my videos. Go to the description of the videos, and you'll find videos and links to help you with that. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. Thank you guys for rocking with your boy. Thank you for sharing the content, liking the content, all that good stuff. I will see you guys on the next video. Y'all be blessed.